And so if you look at economic growth, inflation, the budget deficit, Goldman Sachs says Vice President Kamala Harris will completely defeat Donald Trump on all of on every single one of those things. Then when you talk about what JP Morgan Chase said recently, David Kelly from JP Morgan Chase said on CNBC, we think inflation will run at a 2.6% annual rate next week. Meanwhile, unemployment is running at 4.2%. That combination is better than it's been for 85% of the time over the past 50 years. So right now, in terms of what our economy is, it's doing better than 85% of the time that America has ever existed in the past 50 years. And then you were talking about drill, baby, drill. There's more oil production right now than in the history of America, with still a focus on climate change, more infrastructure projects going up. Our GDP, you want to look at other stats right there. The GDP is the strongest of any G7 nation. We've exceeded the projections. We're the only G7 nation to exceed GDP projections taken before COVID in 2024. And these are just stats. This is just the data. Any other major economy would trade places with where America is right now. But what's happening out there? Why is this not permeating to the public? Well, it's because the MAGAs create a false reality. Corporate media both sides it. And people believe, I guess there are 20,000 Haitian migrants who have taken over Springfield, Ohio, and are eating ducks in the street and stealing people's cats and dogs and barbecuing them. And it's being spread by the major right-wing influencer type people. I mean, we're seeing this spread from the House Judiciary GOP. And then J.D. Vance says, reports now show that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country in Springfield, Ohio. Then it's what's this based on? There was a message board post on something that's not even clear whether it was on Facebook.
It was
saying like a conspiracy account.
Well, here's what it's about. I have the original story, and here's how crazy it is. Okay, so it's from a private Facebook page from August. So this was something that happened in August. And this was a story about a random American citizen. This woman, her name is Alexis Telia Farrell. And this woman, Telia Farrell, she apparently was arrested for killing a neighbor's cat and eating it or something to that effect. And this is an American citizen. She's
not Haitian.
Not Haitian. She's
not in Springfield.
Not in Springfield. Hundreds of miles away from Springfield. And so for whatever reason, because they're all coordinated like these Russian ops, like that I showed you in that Department of Justice document before, where it says, make sure you demonize immigrants. This is the way to win and get people on your side. What they do is they take a screenshot of this Facebook post, then they make up a bunch of other stuff. They spread this hysteria, and they get other people talking about it. They use their own posts as sources to cite, oh, look, this account said this happened. Yeah, that's one of your propaganda accounts that said this happened. They use that to spread these lies. And today they all decided, today we're going to push this line of BS. And we're going to try to combat all this. They say all these things about childless cat ladies and JD Vance and RFK is literally ate dogs and all this weird, stuff that was going on. We're going to push back and we're going to spread this story that Kamala is coming for your pets. She wants to kill your dogs. She wants to kill your cats because she's letting in 30,000 Haitian migrants into your towns in middle America. It's all a lie, 100% a lie. There are no 30,000 Haitian migrants that are eating pets and dogs. And I mean, the entire thing is one lie, but it's spread in unison. It's coordinated. And we talked about the tenant media, the Russian psychological operation. We don't know if Russia is behind something like this, but it works in the same exact way, where you have these big name influencer accounts. They start spreading these stories and then they spread like wildfire because these are trusted accounts. in the MAGA universe, and they have a whole lot of reach. So you see it start with somebody like an Elon Musk, right? They elevate this. The House Judiciary GOP, they start using Elon Musk's AI software to create artificial intelligence images of Donald Trump hugging ducks and hugging cats. And then they have Elon Musk then amplify these pictures. And the House Judiciary GOP says, protect our ducks and kittens in Ohio. You have this account called End Wokeness, which is believed to be run by this white nationalist, allegedly MAGA right-wing guy named Jack Posobiec. And End Wokeness spreads this story and says Springfield is a small town in Ohio. 4 years ago, they had 60,000 residents, but under Biden and Harris, 20,000 Haitian immigrants were shipped to the town. Now ducks and pets are disappearing. Completely made up. Then you have that Jack Posobiec, who's allegedly behind this End Wokeness account. He tweets out another AI image of Donald Trump holding a cat and a duck and trying to protect it from a bunch of African Americans behind him. I mean, this is the most racist stuff imaginable. Meanwhile, you actually ask the people in the town, you ask the police in the town, and they go, yeah, this story's completely fake. Like, we've looked into these claims. It's completely fake. Here's from the Springfield News-Sun newspaper. The headline is Springfield police say no reports of pets stolen after viral media post. But that facts don't get in the way of the MAGA Republican story who spread these lies. And once again, because exactly what Ben said, they cannot fight against the actual reality of a good economy, of steady leadership, of America actually leading the world in all these categories where other countries are falling short. They cannot compete against Kamala Harris actually having cogent, coherent policy plans, against her actually inspiring people, uplifting people, while Donald Trump just threatens people, and Donald Trump has these just bizarre, rambling statements where you have no idea what the heck he's saying. So they don't live in reality, but they are quite comfortable in spreading this BS in order to create their own reality, and then they force other people to play defense against this fake reality. That's exactly what we're seeing here. And this is in a long line of these stories. I mean, every single day there is something like this. There was that horrific shooting last week in the Georgia school. Horrible story. And what were the Republicans' first things that they tried to push? That this shooter was a transgender person who hated people who weren't transgender. That was the story they were pushing. And they pushed that by citing a CNN article that said the opposite. The CNN article said that this individual was enraged about the acceptance of transgender people. He was enraged that people were accepting transgender people. That was one of the things that made him so angry. This 14-year-old kid, that's one of the things where I wonder where he got that from these same people who are spreading this BS. They changed it into he was a transgender person. And they try to say that every shooting is done by transgender people, just attacking marginalized groups and trying to turn them into the enemy. It's so dangerous. It's so disgusting. You had Donald Trump then amplify that disinformation at the same rally from the clips we're showing. I won't play this clip, but Donald Trump said, you know what Americans are afraid of? You know what parents are afraid of? They're afraid of sending their kid to school and he comes back with a sex change. Jimmy goes to school and he comes back with a brutal sex change operation. Imagine saying that crap like literally the weekend after parents in America sent their children to school and had their kids shot to death in school. I think parents are actually afraid of their kids being gunned down by people who are radicalized and inspired and have easy access to weapons. But they need to deflect from the issues that they caused. And they do that once again. How? By creating these false realities, by making up this story. And the more ridiculous story, the better. The more absurd the story, the better. Because if they could get people to believe that, they could get them to do anything. And that is all part of the plan. It's all part of these operations. It's why they go so far with it. And it's why these propaganda operations, these influence operations that we see every single day, It's why they are so, so, so dangerous to democracy and to the United States.
You know, the response by these right-wing influencers is they claim that they would have spread this information regardless. Their defense is that we would have done this for free and we didn't know that we were being used by Russia. It just so happens that our views align. This was the defense, that our views align. It's what the right-wing influencers say, with the kind of laboratory tested propaganda that seeks to divide Americans with complete lies and with complete disinformation. So going back to what I said earlier, this is why in a court of law, when you have admissible evidence versus the hearsay and the lies, you have different types of outcomes. And this is why, despite the fact that the American people actually tend to agree on core issues, people are so divided because there's all these lies. I did another hot take recently on Jordy Aurora, Colorado, where the right-wing lie was that Venezuelan gangs have taken over, hijacked an entire building, and they were running cartel operations and had basically taken over Aurora, Colorado. Again, I'm not going to show the videos of the Aurora mayor, the Denver mayor making a rare kind of unified appearance together, the Aurora top police officers saying, okay, I mean, look, there's some crime, and like in any place, there's some gang activity that takes place, but that's not anywhere near what is being claimed to go on. And there's actually other threats that are bigger than anything that's even being talked about. And there's no Venezuelan gangs that have taken over entire apartment complexes or the entire city. And Brett, that's exactly what Donald Trump said was going on in his speech. He said the Venezuelan gangs have taken over. So when you ask people how their specific life is doing, they usually answer very positively, or that they're doing good. Their 401ks are up significantly. It's just, there's no way that your 401k right now is doing worse if you had anybody who just put it in some safe fund, because our stock market, is up 45 to 50% since when Donald Trump left. Sure, are there days that aren't good? Yeah, but the stock market goes up and down. As a whole, since Trump left office, we're up about 45 to 50%. Meanwhile, Trump stock, Trump media, is down close to 60%. So if your 401k was comprised of Trump stock, you're down 60% in the past 6 months. And if you simply followed a pretty safe index fund right now of our U.S. stock market since Trump left, you're doing significantly better right now over the past 4-year period. But then people have this view, because they're watching Fox, that all of these things are happening. That, as Donald Trump says, Jimmy's going to school and they're changing his gender without the parents' consent, and they're coming home different genders. That's not happening. Venezuelan gang has taken over Aurora and all of Denver, and they control Colorado now. So the Hells Angels needs to come in and save it, because the government refuses to stop an ongoing war that's taking. That's not happening. It's a literal false story that's being pushed by MAGA and Musk and all the right wingers, and at the top by Donald Trump. Or the most recent one, the Haitians in Ohio are now eating your cats and your dogs and your ducks. And by the way, I mean, Don Jr. posts a ton of photos of himself hunting and killing ducks, like in Louisiana, and all. Don Jr. posts photos of himself like killing giraffes and rhinoceroses that are like in Africa. That's not the point, but they're spreading these. If anything's a bigger threat to ducks, it's Don Jr. hunting them in Louisiana than Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio. And then the police has to say it's false, but then it's just another dot, right? And they overwhelm story. And Fox has been doing this relentlessly, nonstop for decades now, since their existence. And they kick into high gear when you have a Democrat, whether it's Obama or Biden, in office with lies over and over again, and it permeates the public. But that's why we, the people, need to reclaim our power.